Hey guys, I have returned with 5 more RPG reviews. Today we have 2 indies, 2 Japanese, and 1 popular Western RPG I never thought I will go back to, so let's begin. First on the list is Fallen Legion: Sins of an Empire. This game came out several years ago, developed by Indonesian studios Sphere and Yummy Yummy Tummy. What a name, huh? It was released on PS4 with later ports to modern systems. The version I played is included in this PS5 edition alongside its sequel. The name was now Fallen Legion: Rise to Glory, in which you can choose to play as Cecile, basically playing Sins of an Empire, or Landon, basically playing Flames of Rebellion. Both stories occur at the same time, but the gameplay is identical. So I beat the game with Cecile. The plot follows her after the sudden death of her father, the Emperor. So the Empire is now in decline. Wars have broken out and a rebellion led by the other protagonist, Landon, is uprising. To fight in the war and secure her throne, she mistakenly allies herself with an evil book that gives her the power to summon fallen heroes known as Exemplars. So this is a hybrid turn-based action RPG inspired by games such as Valkyrie Profile. Each character is attached to one button, including Cecile. Now, Cecile stands in the back and can only use 3 types of spells you control with her button and the D-pad. 1 attack spell, 1 revival spell, or 1 healing spell. Each of them has its own cooldown but can be sped up by attacking with your Exemplars. Just like in Valkyrie Profile, they require action points to execute their regular skills, death blows, or attacks. These action points recover constantly but slowly or immediately if you break an enemy guard or various other conditions. One such condition relies on the guard button. You use it with the trigger, but you gotta guard at the exact time to either protect your characters from an attack or to repel it back to your enemies, leaving them defenseless for a few seconds. That's when you need to button mash your controller more than ever. As a result, this game is 10 times more intense and more action-oriented than Valkyrie Profile, and also as a result, it's extremely exhausting. The game's great, don't take me wrong, but after about an hour or so, you'll start feeling the pain in your right hand, so I recommend taking long breaks between sessions. The game's short though, it can be beaten in about 10 hours or so. Multiple routes are there depending on your constant decisions. I say constant because every time you enter a stage, you will not only fight small groups of enemies in 2D, but also make constant decisions as an Empress. Every choice affects NPC interaction in towns, morale, which is used to fight, and what buffs your fighters get during battle. Problem is, you have to constantly read about everything in the menu to get acquainted with everything and everyone and therefore make better decisions, cause most of them feel very random and you don't know if you're doing something wrong. Another complaint I have is that there is no leveling system here. You only get some accessories with some advantages with 1 or 2 characters that you can equip with Cecile. So since there's no leveling system, you'll never have to grind! But also you'll be facing balancing issues, not using the right warriors for this or that stage, or not fighting or guarding properly can end up in a frustrating game over. You die and it's back to the world map, meaning you'll have to retry the whole stage again. In other words, the game will constantly be extremely easy and extremely hard whenever. Nevertheless, it's quite addicting to play. It is very good, engaging and responsive. The intense combat and the dark, mature and very well written story make everything worth your while. This is definitely recommended no matter what, just keep in mind the aforementioned issues and let them serve as a fair warning. Oh, and by the way, the music is freaking fantastic here. Moving on to Poison Control. This game was developed and published by Nippon Ichi Software, a highly unique action RPG where you control 2 characters simultaneously. Your male or female protagonist seems to have died and is sent to hell, a place invaded by poison mire generated from the negative memories and emotions of both the living and the dead. Poisonette, or so she calls herself, will accompany you with the ability to purge the mire, mainly because she wants to go to heaven or at least take over your body. I'll be honest, I never quite understood the premise of this game, but as the story progressed, it got better, especially the dark psychological themes in the girls, whose poison needs purging, represent. That's right, every single stage in this little overworld you'll complete is pretty much the personal hell of a girl, called the bells here, that you need to clear. So yeah, hell's bells, yeah, very funny. So the game has a really dark, twisted and cynical sense of humor, but it doesn't take itself seriously. The graphics look really colorful as you've been seeing so far, but the predominant ones are pink and purple, cause that's usually the color of poison. So, every time you enter a stage, two girls hosting a radio show will explain the background of the girl whose hell you need to clear. Your character will do the third-person shooting part with shoulder controls. You use the triggers to shoot from your gun and can equip different types of bullets that you can switch to at any time. You can also use a special powerful blast once its bar fills up. Now, the aiming is kinda bad here, I'll admit, and the hit detection often fails. You also have no regular stats except the HP and the attack power. Enemies will hit quite hard since early stages, and you only have 3 butterflies which act as lives, apart from your numerical HP. If they're all used, it's game over and back to the overworld. No autosave feature here, so you'll lose everything and will have to restart the whole stage. And not a single stage has any checkpoints whatsoever. As a result, the game's extremely challenging and it'll take you a big chunk of time to get used to it. However, to make up for this, you can redo any stage you want at any time for grinding. And most importantly, you get experience from anything you do. That's awesome! Opening chests, defeating enemies, watching memories, destroying blocks, and of course, from purging the poison mire. This is where Poisonette, the second character you control, comes into play. Keeping the left trigger button pressed, you'll immediately transform into her for a short period of time. Within that time, you'll have to run on the mire to purge it. This is also a great way to farm money and experience. You can also damage enemies while they're on it by circling around them. This mechanic is extremely fun and can become an addiction, I'm not kidding. You don't have to clean every single puddle of poison to complete a stage, but it helps cleaning as much as you can precisely so you can grind for experience and money, like I said. Now, speaking about money, it only serves one purpose, to upgrade equipment. You can equip different weapons, eventually unlocking more slots to equip more firearms with different types of ammo. You can also equip a couple of accessories that have different stat increases or buffs that get unlocked the more you upgrade them. Anything can be upgraded up to level 5 though. Finally, the stats you're seeing right now might seem important to the story, but nope. Your decisions during dialogue choices with Poisonette only serve to increase certain stats or innate abilities. The Trust stat, however, that's the one that increases your bond with Poisonette, and you'll need it to achieve her personal ending. Yep, multiple endings are here, there are 5 in total, not a single one actually being bad as a matter of fact, and also not a single one being true ending. The game's quite short and can be completed in 10 to 15 hours, no difficulty settings are there, and no new game plus, but you can replay the stages anytime you want and watch the story unfold again if you want to, being overpowered. So there really is no need for a new game plus since the entire game practically is one. The music is absolutely incredible here, what a soundtrack! From the theme of the menu screen, to the overworld, to most of the stages, it's a blast! Overall, it takes a while to really like and appreciate this game. Once I personally did, I freaking loved it! You do get used to its flawed third-person shooting eventually, and the mire purging is just awesome. Poison Control is an amazing experience like no other that can be very addicting to play. Next is Banner of the Maid. This is a Chinese strategy RPG developed by indie studio Azure Flame. It came out a few years ago on Steam, later ported to consoles. Surprisingly though, it has nothing to do with China or Chinese history. Instead, it's about the French Revolution led by Napoleon Bonaparte. However, you play as his sister Pauline, who gets her own company to fight in the war, after becoming a heroine called the Maid of Toulon. Pauline Bonaparte actually existed, by the way, but obviously she wasn't a soldier fighting under her brother's side, so while there are many historical facts in the story, there are also a lot of liberties taken within fantasy and fiction. In any case, the story is serious with strong character development. Don't be fooled by the astounding fan service that seems way too focused on female cleavage here. The story is mature despite the boob fest. So yeah, great plot, but my two minor complaints are A. The English translation is mediocre at best and could have used a lot more work, and B. No spoilers, but the fact that there is only one ending no matter what you do, and kinda anticlimactic to be honest, disappoints a little. No different routes either. In fact, some of your choices matter greatly here as to what mission objectives you'll get and what characters will join your army, but most of them only earn you points with the different factions of the game, increasing a faction level, upgrades, shop, equipment and items, but nothing affects the ending of the game. Anyway, onto the battle system. There's no magic system here at all. Every unit you control is a commander in charge of a small platoon that fights with swords or guns. There are muskets, sabers, rifles, and cannons. Since the characters have one specific class that can be promoted later in the game only once, ones are weak to others. Instead of a triangle system like in Fire Emblem, there's a square system where one type of class is strong against the next one and so on until you go full circle. Units move on grids and you can always see the range of your enemies so you can plan your strategies accordingly. There is no permadeath here, and if a character is defeated, they simply retreat and conserve their EXP. Sounds easy, right? Hell no! This game's ridiculously hard, with some brutal mission objectives like killing everyone in a set number of turns, or if 2 or 3 characters retreat, it's game over. I swear it can get very unfair sometimes. However, it's also ridiculously good and addicting, since it forces you to rethink your strategies and the use of your units more so than the map terrain. Nearly every mission is masterfully crafted so you really think how you're gonna beat it. Of course, there are a few broken characters like Adelaide here, who's basically a dodge tank, but that's not gonna save you from the game's challenge. Keep in mind I played it on normal mode, but there's also an easy mode and hard mode. Though you can also do some free quests to grind here and there, including some character quests that reward you with even more development for them. Remember the choice system I mentioned? Well, your decisions also may affect which character side quests you'll get. Finally, the graphics are simple and small, which might tire your eyes after a couple of missions, but the art style is gorgeous, whether you're a man of culture or not. Music has a couple of memorable themes, but it's overall just kinda there. Despite its small flaws though, this is an excellent game and I strongly recommend it to strategy RPG fans. Suffice to say, it's become one of my all-time favorite indie RPGs out there. Moving on to Trials of Mana, the remake. Yep, this is a remake of the original from the mid-90s that never came out of Japan until Collection of Mana just a bit before this remake was announced. I put a bunch of hours into it 3 years ago or so, but never finished it until last year. It's still quite short, even if you do the post-game content, you can complete it in about 21 to 25 hours or so. More if you play on hard, but this game can be relentlessly difficult because it's somewhat technical. Man, I just noticed all RPGs in today's video are tough as nails. Anyway, it's not mindless hack and slash and every character controls very differently. You can only choose 3 for your entire adventure and switch to them at any given time. For a modern remake, controls are a bit stiff, which makes me wonder if they wanted to make it playable in 3D while retaining the original collision interface. I swear I never got used to it 100%, but then again I chose Reese as my MC and she's a Lancer, so yeah, she was kinda hard to control most of the time. Unlike Hawkeye, who was easier, but I was always dying with him. Angela was cool too because I could cast magic spells galore from afar, and halfway through the game she really gets really powerful up to the point of being broken. But it all depends on how you train her. There isn't exactly a skill tree here, more like you get points and use them to increase stats that unlock both passive and active abilities. So naturally, training Angela's intelligence greatly increases your chances of breaking her. Eventually you'll be able to class up. There are 3 class changes total, each with 2 different classes for each character, although the last one is locked until the post game. and for every class you'll need to be at a certain level, so yeah, the game's a bit grindy, especially on normal or hard mode. Now, combat aside, you'll get no random encounters here, but it's like Chrono Trigger or the original Trials of Mana version. They're often hard to avoid and you constantly get into battle no matter what. It hinders your exploration and makes you want to ignore secrets or chests just to avoid a battle. It's tiresome because there's just so much fighting here, and to make matters even worse, there's no fast travel. A modern remake without a fast travel. Yeah, you backtrack a heck of a lot and we'll do that over and over again, until late in the game when you get some monsters to travel quickly across the sea or the sky. At least escaping from a battle is fast enough, but still, I'm not sure why they couldn't include a fast travel feature here. The story is interesting, but it's also somewhat generic. Some characters have a more well-developed plot, while others feel like classic JRPG tropes. But it's alright, it's not really a story-driven RPG anyway. Most of the Mana games are like this. At some points of the main quest, you'll run across the other characters you didn't choose, and even get to fight some of their enemies. Oh, and the fan service in this game stands out like crazy. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine Square Enix will remake Reese and Angela like this, especially Angela, holy crap! Seriously, they take every chance they can get to show off the ladies, not just with some of the outfits. Even the Switch version makes them look interesting to say the least. Anyway, this is a solid remake despite its lack of modern quality of life features. It's usually dirt cheap on any platform, so definitely pick it up if you see it. And finally, The Witcher 3. Many years ago I got a copy of this game on PS4 thanks to a fan, streamed the first hour and didn't like it. I did promise I'd go back to it one day, but that never happened. Time went on and I really felt like fulfilling that promise. Well, a few weeks ago I decided to finally, at long last, return to it, but only while I waited for other games to arrive. It'll help me kill some time, I said, and I've known about its reputation for years. It is regarded as not only one of the best Western RPGs of all time, but also one of the best video games ever, period. Well, like I said, I went back to it completely bored, expecting the worst, and holy shit, man! I loved it, damn it! At first I encountered a heck of a lot of technical issues though, bugs and glitches galore. Some of them I recorded like this one, but others were far worse. There was a big 52GB update available, but I didn't have enough space to install it, so I ignored it. Eventually I got tired of the issues, so I made space, updated, and it fixed nearly everything. Yes, it is the friggin' masterpiece everyone says it is, but it's not without its problems. I won't explain the game to you cause it's so popular nowadays. You already know it's about Geralt and Yennefer trying to find their missing friend Ciri, who's almost like a daughter to them. You also already know it's an open world, action RPG, etc. Usually I stay away from those, but since the storytelling, the narrative, and the incredibly well-written, creatively well-written dialogue was so fantastic, I just kept going and going. Story-wise, this is a masterpiece. Too bad it's a sequel to two other games that are only available on computer systems, although the second one is also on 360. I haven't played them. A remake of the first game was announced in 2022, so oh boy, I can't wait. I haven't read the books either. All I did was watch the kinda lame show on Netflix, only 2 seasons and a half until I gave up. Henry Cavill was the only good thing about it, and now he's gone, so yeah, screw it. Going back to Witcher 3, the game, it's got almost 40 endings, though most are just small variations of a few. I got 2 of those and felt satisfied. I also did several side quests, some of them altered the variations of those endings. All good so far. Combat is good, solid, but I'll be honest, it isn't perfect. Compared to many, and I mean many action RPGs, it's a bit rough on the edges, but it's fine. You just hack and slash with barely any combos and use the right trigger for spells. I just wish it could have been more responsive and satisfactory. I also believe the game's lacking in enemy variety and epic boss fights. I don't want to talk about the horse, who's a pain in the ass to control half of the time, just like the boat. Both are so troublesome that I ended up merely running or swimming to get where I needed to go. Actually, that's my one and only true gripe with the game. that a lot of places you need to visit to progress are so far away that it's a chore instead of entertainment getting there. Apart from that though, the rest are just minor complaints, and I don't think a single JRPG can beat this game in fan service. This one goes all explicit with full nudity, completely uncensored. Of course, I can't show you anything other than this because nipples offend YouTube, but you get the idea. Overall, consider me a fan of The Witcher 3, man. I can't believe I was missing out just because I find most Western RPGs boring. I still do, but not this one anymore. It is the best Western RPG I've ever played so far. And that's it, guys. Those were my 5 RPGs I needed to talk about, pretty much review. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time.